Hello YouTube, MetaSelf here. I got a meta content video here. Sorry, had no choice but to do the pun. So, basically, I'm calling this the timely and the timeless because if you haven't noticed, I've been focusing on making my content being on subjects that are what I would consider to be timeless, meaning they don't really pertain to any point and place in history, but can be applicable to any of those places in history, or most of them. The reason why I do this is because I'm influenced by people like Alan Watts, and to have this kind of like, not always nitpicking at specific modern day cultures and social organization or anything, but focusing on the underlying ideas. And I've always been attracted to that, but it's been a while since I've been on YouTube, about 3 months, or almost 3 months, and it's a combination of things. I've been working, I've been inundated by media coming from Twitter and YouTube. If you were to see my feeds, it's just, it never stops. There's always something to watch and look into and digest and understand. This world's crazy. And also, the other issue with why I haven't been making as much videos is this idea of the timeless and the timely. I've been kind of stagnated by my feeling that, hey, I want to do a video, but I kind of want to do it with a topic that is more, about current events, especially with a lot of this, social justice stuff that's coming out lately. It's just, it's ridiculous, and I feel like I want to talk about it, but I'm like, oh, it goes against my whole shtick, my whole style. So, I want to, maybe start to consider this more timely content, but I don't want to become just timely content because, well, first of all, my content is sometimes timely in the sense that it may be a broader topic or an abstract idea, but I give examples in the content or in the story. What story am I saying? It's like I'm saying lies. But in my essays or my videos, I give examples that pertain to actual real world events that are happening at the time or have happened. So that's like in an indirect way. I mean, in a direct way, and then indirect way would be implications. Someone would read this, timeless kind of content, and they will, have an implication, a conclusion, and that will become an indirect way of influencing their day-to-day lives, which is a current event in that opinion, in that sense. So, I've been conflicted between these two approaches. And so I want to mix it up a bit more. Like I said, I already have been, connecting the ideas with examples, but I feel I want to focus a little more on that, just to balance it all out. Because that one will make it more interesting, but it won't sacrifice any of the timeless aspects and underlying ideas I'm trying to get at. And it would also, on the flip side, for people that may read it in the future, they can understand more about history, and it won't be just a timeless idea, but something, a little historical fact or event that they can learn about. And so that's what I think I'll be doing for now on. Like I said, I don't want to focus on the timely stuff that much because I feel like my videos, well, they'll become ephemeral. And if it's not going to be a crazy, what they call flashbulb light type event, it's not, it's just going to be, dust in the wind. It's not going to get anywhere. I would really like my content to still influence and be interesting to people in the future. Just like Alan Watts was influencing and interesting, even though it was more than half a century earlier, most of his writings. So this is basically, I've decided to stick with these timeless ideas, but mention more frequently how they relate to currently newsy stuff. So with that said, I want to give you guys a brief look at what I have coming up in the next few weeks. Actually, let me not be lying, it's more like months. But this list is not exhaustive. You know, there might be more to it. But I'm definitely going to try to do all of these. And I have a good track record of getting these done. So first of all, these are in no order. I'm just spouting them off how I have them written in my notes. But I just want to give you guys an idea of what's coming up. So, truth and power. I want to write about how they may relate to each other, if or not they're the same thing. Because sometimes you feel like there is a truth, and that it may be opposing to power. Like there may be an evil regime that hurts people, and that may be a harper on the truth of freedom and having, or maybe like a religion that stifles the truth of science, but they have power to do so. So I've been thinking about whether or not they're different, because there's this, the pragmatic idea is, for truth, is that if something you do, if something works, then it's true for you. So if that's the sense, then if you make something work, then that's kind of like power, in the sense that you get something to do what you want it to. That's basically what power means. It means having the ability to bend or to apply your will on anything and have it do what you want it to do. So in this pragmatic sense, truth may be power. But I just wanted to explain that and toy around with it. That's not my conclusion. I'm just trying to whet the appetite a little. Another thing that's this pretty it's a broader idea, but definitely pertains to what's going on right now, is what arbitrary social constructions and evolution, and looking at the origins, uses, and problems with deconstructionism, and how what it relates to right now is the social justice movement. So basically, to be in a nutshell, kind of, not to give away too much, but the idea of looking at culture and then breaking it down and seeing microaggressions and PC behavior, this all came from the French philosophers like Derrida and Foucault, and Giles, it's like Lyles or some shit. But yeah, these guys, they made up deconstructionism, or they helped foster it, and basically it's just taking ideas and breaking them down, and that's what social justice movements are doing now. They're looking at it as forms of power and oppression, and breaking down parts of society to uncover these subtleties of power and aggression and hegemony and supremacy. So the problem with this, though, obviously, is that when you do this to ideas, you can, do a straw man all day and just make them up and unpack them the way you want to. So, I also want to, on the other side of that, with the social constructions, is that another thing is they believe that all these ideas they're unpacking are all social constructions, that they have no relationship to evolution or the body or what we're going through. And so I was going to show a lot of stuff that, counteracts that and shows how exactly why our constructions are, many of them, like some of them are arbitrary social constructions, but many of them are not. They're connected to evolution. For instance, your drive to eat, that's not a social construction, right? But it doesn't even go for things that's simple and rudimentary. You go up to things like your feelings for art, or what you want out of a good laugh or humor. These things may be more connected to biological behaviors than just happens to be your culture. And remember also, culture is an embodiment of the geography of an environment, and our environment now is the internet, so it's just getting crazy and crazy. So I just want to get into that too. Also, I've been looking at writing more fiction. I've recently written some fiction which I call 4 Lives in and Out of a Cage. I hope you look at it. It's pretty interesting. It's short. It's not going to be a long time for you to read. It's definitely not a chore to read. I already got some likes on it in different ways, like some accolades, people clicking that button just like you should. You don't have to, though. You can also click the dislike button. I don't give a shit. You can do what you want. This is liberty, ladies and gentlemen. So yeah, this new fiction story I want to write is called Two Chemical Love Stories. Well, that's not the title of it, but that's basically what it's going to look at, and it's going to be the same format as the last one with the 4 lives in and out of a cage, where you have like one lifeline or one timeline and another timeline, and they have like a relationship with each other that you would have to work out yourself. So that's going to be there. Also, I'm going to look at liberty and freedom as the answer to all existential questions about why are we here, what are we doing, where are we going. So, the basic idea is that, stop questioning and start doing what you have, or utilizing what's in your possession, which is freedom, liberty, power, to do what you want to do and make the effects you want in the world. Not all effects, but enough to, make it a goal in life and to see it progress. So that liberty is the answer to these existential dilemmas. I also have, for those of you who may know about the anime series, or it's not a series, but it's a movie called Akira. I want to write about its relationship with evolution and alchemy. There's a lot of similarities, and the themes in Akira, especially the project of the actual boy Akira, and what they were trying to do, why he has all these powers, actually is very related to alchemy and evolution. It has the same process, so I want to break that down for you guys, so you can, it's just a fun idea to chew on there. Another one is there's this Vsauce. If you guys are familiar with Vsauce, it's a YouTube channel. It's a great channel. They basically ask questions that you would never think of, but the answers are so interesting. So they were basically looking at the size of the universe and relativity. I don't remember the exact video, but basically one of the facts in the video was that human beings and their proportion is at the complete center of the universe. If you would take a whole scale of the whole universe, from the biggest things to the smallest things, the exact center would be human beings in our proportion. So thinking of that, I was just like, we're in the middle of everything. And then I started to think about, again, existentialism and what are we doing here, and then I thought about older ideas about consciousness and being the repository of information universe, and maybe even God is incarnate the right word, or God asleep, just like in the Hindu mythology or theology. So I don't want to get into that, but yeah, it would be like in the middle of everything. So next one I want to do is I want to talk about psychoactive drugs as a kind of functional food, instead of seeing them, like, to try to like break down this divide of seeing drug use as so artificial and trying to see it integrated into life. That's not to say that one should do one kind of drug all the time and abuse it to the hell. Not at all. What we're saying is, or what I'm saying is, to get it so that we can see a less divide in activities, so it's not as like doesn't stand out as much. It becomes more integrated and becomes healthier too, because whenever you have a behavior that you're not integrating well into your routine in general, just like an addiction, well, it will fuck you up, really. So I've been thinking about drugs as functional food. There's already a concept of functional food. For instance, I drink kombucha tea, which is considered a functional food because it doesn't taste great. By the way, with time it tastes pretty good, but at first it tastes horrible. It's like vinegar. It's like vinegary. But the benefits of it and the probiotics that it has and all these other elements it has are really good for the body and good for digestion and good for immune health. So in that, one drinks that not because it's refreshing. It eventually does become refreshing, but because it is good for you. Yeah. So in that sense, substances are a function of food. Not that I'm saying they're good for you, but they are something you eat not for its flavor, or you take not for its flavor or its palate, but instead for an effect that it elicits or catalyzes in you. So, tune in for that one. Now this next one's a little touchy. I'm not going to get into it too much because it's I might get sad, but basically my whole intellectual life, I have, for most of it, I've been completely okay with abortion. I am still okay with abortion. I think it should be legal. But I've had a view of it which now is different. Now, basically, in a nutshell, I was watching a documentary on Barkov TV. That's a YouTube channel there. You can watch it, check it out. And actually, it's pretty messed up, a lot of them. But here's one of them. So this kid was being born with he was being born blind and with a cleft palate separated, like the problem with the cleft palate. So his parents, though, knew that he was going to suffer this, and they decided to have the birth anyway. And so at first I was thinking to myself, this is horrible. Why didn't the parents have abortion? Now this kid's going to suffer his whole life. These parents are selfish. They should have just killed them. And a lot of people agreed with me, and there's other people in the comments agreeing. But then I got scrolling to some more of the comments, and I found that people were saying, well, the cleft palate can be fixed very easily, and the fact that he's blind, I mean, like Stevie Wonder's blind, he's done a lot of great. Maybe just because you're blind, that adversity may make you into something more than the average person, and you may become a huge asset to humanity. And then it hit me. It's like, who am I to think what would be a good life for anyone but myself, especially for one that still hasn't had the potential yet of being birthed? Like, how can I say, well, this kid is going to be too short, let me just kill him before, and then it hit me. It's like, this is like, oh my God, this is like eugenics. It's not exactly like eugenics, but it's like at the precipice. I feel like I'm almost at the door of it and saying, yeah, well, he's being born blind, or, maybe he's not that tall, or, yeah, I don't like him with brown eyes. See, it's just, I feel like, I don't want to call it a slippery slope, but I just, it's too close for comfort. It's more like a proximity than the fact that it's a sloping line or falling. It's more like how close you are to that, close to eugenics. So, I want to get into that, life potential and in abortion, and finding like a middle ground between like this, that you can't have any abortion versus I want abortions all the time, on demand, and I'll do them as like almost like a fashion statement. So another one is another psychoactive one, pro-legalization, is I'm looking at, by the way, drugs as functional food, that's also pro-legalization. This legalization essay I have in mind is about nicotine, the addiction that elicits in people, and the 90s. So basically, the amount of people in the 90s, when they were confirming that cigarette smoking definitely causes cancer, without a shadow of a doubt, you saw a reduction of like something like 50% of the people who smoked. And there was no laws passed, there was no restrictive legislation on their use of it. They can use the same amount as they did before. And nicotine addiction is known to be the most addictive substance on the planet, more so than heroin. Heroin is much easier to kick than nicotine. Nicotine, people get they underestimate it because it's so subtle, but it really isn't subtle. I mean, it is subtle, but it sinks its hooks into you. It doesn't feel like it does much to your mind. Like, you don't feel like you're getting fucked up or drunk or anything, but you are letting it creep in and seep into the cracks of your life so it could fill it. Where you wake up and you need a cigarette. You just ate, you need a cigarette. You just had sex, you need a cigarette. You just took a shit, you need a cigarette. You got home from work, you need a cigarette. So it just kind of sleeps into these little parts, and next thing you know, you need a cigarette, and that's how it becomes. It's like, oh, I just need a cigarette right after I eat, and then it becomes right after, I take a nap, or right before going to sleep. All these things just seeps in there, and so half of the people using this really addictive substance stopped, just with the knowledge and the awareness that it may cause cancer, or that it's very likely to cause cancer. So I want to use this as an example of how legalization can work, and that you don't need laws to ban these really addictive substances, because what you have is people do things that most of the time are good for them. They don't want to do things that harm them, and we should give them the freedom and the responsibility so they can look after themselves, and that creates good citizens instead of ones that feel like they need something from someone else, that they feel incomplete. They can't do it themselves. Another one, I have two left, this second one. Another one is So yeah, check out that because I think that's going to be a good legalization one. So okay, next one is morality rational? That is to say, is it something that is, something you think out, like process, and you work it out, or is it something that really is like a reflex? Not something you think about, but something that just happens. It's just you react to it. So I'm going to look into that. I'm going to have a conclusion because it's going to have. I'm going to have some good thought experiments to show that it's definitely going to change what you ordinarily think of rationality. I'm sorry, of morality. And finally, last one is an important one. It's the only one for 9/11 that I have, but I think it's going to be a really great one. This is going to be 9/11 Truth 2.0. What I mean by that is that there's going to be some refocusing and reorienting of what I believe are the strengths and goals of the 9/11 Truth movement. Most people associate the 9/11 Truth movement with people pointing at George Bush saying he had the detonator to bring down the towers, and this is all his fault, and it's an inside job, and all this malarkey. What I think the 9/11 Truth movement should be doing now is completely different. I think instead of trying to point fingers, it should be asking for new investigations. It should be looking at specific physical evidence. It should be looking at inconsistencies with the official story, and it should not be pointing fingers directly, but saying, look, we need an investigation so we can investigate these people, but we're not going to just point the fingers. We need a new investigation and point out why the investigation is needed and why the old one's horrible. So I'm going to get into this and the new points that one should focus on, the strong points, the points that are falsifiable, that you can put under scrutiny, and really analyze and show how this does not fit the official story. Then it just shows that this isn't far from anomaly. It's a contradiction. It's something that puts the story not just into question, but shows it as false. So that's basically all the topics I have lined up. In addition to that, just like always, I've been thinking about making like brief bios of people that are influencing me, video responses to other videos, which I am apprehensive to do so because I feel like I'm gonna get stuck into a cycle of back and forth. And also, I have a lot of essays on my blog that I want to start saying out loud on the mic. I think it might be pretty cool. Maybe even trying to accompany them with something visual. So that would be great. And that's basically it. I just want to leave you guys with two quotes that I always love. One is pertaining to liberty. It's nothing is true, everything is permitted. Just look it up and you'll find out who said it. Or if you're interested, I'll tell you, but I'll just leave it at that. And this is a so funny. Sometimes the trippiest moments of my day are when I'm half asleep, about to wake up or about to go to sleep, and I'll have maybe music playing, or I'll just be more aware of what's going around me. And it'd be that state where people say, you can't move, but you're aware of what's going on. And it's really trippy, And I'll sometimes get these quotes in my head. And I got that, it came to me. I said to myself, silence is the loudest sounds in the universe. Total oxymoron, but I think it's like one of those Zen poems, that in being a contradiction to itself, it points beyond itself to something. So basically, yeah, that's it. Made this under 25, right? So thanks a lot, guys, for listening. Check out my Twitter, please. Check out my my blog at humanxparadox.blogspot.com. My YouTube channel. Oh, you're on my YouTube channel. Twitter. My Twitter's MetaSelf. My handle is at fractal_stuff. Look that up. If you want to know what I update the most, it's my Twitter. And I don't know what else. I love you. I love you guys. Love you all. Thanks for listening. You guys are great. Have a good one. MetaSelf out.